Welcome to Tammy Nation. Let's go.
I've been running from 9 to 5, been biting my tongue for all this time. Won't let anyone cut me short. I was thinking this was the way to go, and you put up your puppet show. I say cheers to life. No, I'll be no good man. Just leave me alone. I'm running the show. I'm telling you, it's my time to rise up. Live the life I'm proud of. No, you better go home.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Tammy Nation tonight, Monday evening. I hope you guys all had a great weekend and a great Monday as well. I know Mondays are tough, and this time of year for me is really tough. Once it gets dark, I'm ready to crawl into bed and go to bed. But tonight, I put together a show because I had promised earlier that I would. And I was looking through some things. And of course, it's not hard to find different little things going on out there in the world. And sometimes you got to laugh at it, and sometimes you just want to scream. But, you know, variety is the spice of life. So welcome, everybody. Welcome aboard. And like I said, I hope you had a great Monday, and wrapping up the Monday evening with some of these silly, crazy headlines and things going on out there. The first issue that I wanted to talk about was Don Jr. When he came out of the New York courtroom today. He said, had a statement to make, and he said the implications for any businesses trying to operate in and around New York are truly staggering. He said where there is no actual person complaining other than the AG herself, it sets a precedent. And I have to agree with him with this court case going on in New York. We've said it many times on this show, and you guys are well aware that there's nobody that is the victim. All the loans and the business dealings that took place have been paid off with interest. And this AG is just going after it, I think, to make a name of herself. And, there was a visual in the courtroom today where they scanned Don Jr. and some people in the court, and the AG, Letitia was sitting there with a smirk on her face, almost like, look at what I've done. Really, this is setting a precedent. And I think it would make it nearly impossible for anybody to actually do business in around New York City. Donald Jr. continued with his statement saying, hopefully one day the people of this great city will realize what's going on. They'll realize the destructive practices here, and they'll realize just how insane that this is. And they'll be begging for guys like Donald Trump to come back into New York City to reshape the skyline as he's done for decades. So you have to agree with them, because it really does set a precedent, because who wants to risk opening a business there, with everything that they have, if, there's this kind of leadership and this kind of thing going on with people. And it's not just because it's Trump. The point is, if they can do it to him, can imagine what they could do to us. And I don't see anybody wanting to risk that. Even if you're playing the game that they want you to play, we all know that when you're in corruption and you do things that aren't on the up and up, you end up getting caught eventually. And it's not like you're going to be friends forever. Eventually, you try to open up a business there, playing the game under this kind of leadership and this kind of corruption. And at some point, they're going to flip on you too. So then you're going to end up losing everything anyhow. So really, it has set a precedent, and I hope this gets straightened out. I think we all do. There's so many aspects of our governmental system that seem to be failing all across this country. It's very sad, but we still have to keep that fight up. And the thing is, when Donald Jr. was asked if he's going to return tomorrow, he said, "I don't believe so. I believe we are done." So that was his statement today. Also, while all this is happening with the Trump family, in the meantime, pictures, I don't know if you've seen them or not, have been released of the bag of that white stuff that was found at the White House. It was found in the West Wing, according to the notes, that in July. So there's like 4 different pictures of the little white bag or the clear bag of the white stuff. And it said the date on there that it said West Wing, because I know there was some controversy going back and forth. No, it wasn't found in the West Wing like Fox News reported. However, in the picture that came out, the supposedly official pictures of this package leaked out, it did say the West Wing, July of 2023. So not only was it found in the West Wing, apparently it was found in a numbered locker that needs a key. And how about this? They don't know who has the assigned locker. Either that or they're just not saying who it is. So a couple of questions that I have, and maybe I just missed it, but a couple of questions I had were, are there cameras in that area? Because this is the White House, for heaven's sakes. And because there's been people saying out there, well, maybe it's not Hunter's, maybe it was somebody else's, it could be anybody's. However, these are numbered, keyed lockers. So everybody's assigned to that locker. So there has to be some way, somehow, to trace who that locker belongs to. I believe they know, and there may be cameras and they're just not saying it or whatever. To me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, because how can you have something like that in the White House? I mean, it's bad enough the stuff that we've seen going on the White House lawn. We've seen the protesters that have defamed and defaced the monuments in the wall and the gates and all the different things that have been going on in the White House. But to infiltrate the inside like that, when we know that there's a lot of security and there's a lot you have to go through in order to even enter the White House. So, and if you've ever gone to an event where there's a former president, I've only been to one where there's been Trump, and the amount of searching they do, the amount of time that it takes for you to pass snuff to be able to even get in there, and then the amount of security that's in and around the building while they are on the premises is incredible. So for me, I know that supposedly this whole issue was killed. It was a know-nothing burger. However, this just came out, was posted today about these pictures. So I'm sure there's more to that to be found. I'm hoping something gets discovered of it, because who wants a White House where they can have something like that in there and then they just let it drop the ball on it like everything else? There's got to be people held accountable for that. And the other thing that is going on is it came out today that whether Georgia's electronic voting system has had major cyber security flaws that amount to a violation of voters' constitutional rights here in Georgia to cast their votes and have those votes accurately counted is set to be decided at trial early next year. So yes, a U.S. District Judge, Amy Totenberg, issued a 135-page ruling late on Friday in a long-running lawsuit that was filed by activists who want the state to ditch its electronic voting systems. We know what they begin with. I don't need to say the names of them, but they want the hand-marked paper ballots. And we all know that there's a process that we all have to go through in order to try to take this apart piece by piece. There also has to be cooperation on all sides, and there doesn't seem to be that. But the state has asked the judge to rule in its favor based on the arguments and facts in the case without going to trial. However, Totenberg found that there are material facts in dispute, she feels, and they must be decided in a trial. Now, that trial is set to start January 9th. That is a bench trial, which means there's no jury. But she did suggest that the sides work together to reach a resolution. And I don't know about you, but if you've been paying attention to the things going on in Georgia, there's not going to be an easy resolution to that, or people working on both sides when it seems like one side wants to expose different things and the other side doesn't want to hear it, vice versa, or there's people flip-flopping around. I've seen the information in small little districts from in the area I am. I've seen the actual ballots. I've seen the actual printouts from the computer and what's going on. And there were a lot of discrepancies, even in the small little areas that I've witnessed and seen. So the lawsuit was filed by several individual voters and the Coalition for Good Governance, which advocates for election security and integrity. And it's against the Secretary of State, Raffensperger, and members of the state election board. And it claims that the current configuration of the state's system presents a threat to voters' rights to have their vote counted and cast. So all this that they put in this lawsuit, it said it spawned an expert report and identified many vulnerabilities in the election system that's used in Georgia. And it led to a federal cybersecurity agency to issue an advisory of jurisdictions that use the equipment and has prompted a call for abandoning the machines. Yes, it is a process. Yes, we feel like we maybe will never see anything happen with this, but this is just happening now. Totenberg, who is the judge in this, said that there is a footnote she put in her order that the evidence in the Georgia case, now this, all of a sudden this feels defeated even if she votes in the favor of it. She said that she can't order the state to implement a paper ballot system. She said that there's pragmatic, sound, remedial policy measures that she could order or that the parties could agree upon. And that includes eliminating the QR codes on the ballots and having scanners read human legible text, using a broader scope and the number of election audits, and implementing essential cybersecurity measures and policies recommended by leading experts. But once again, it feels like we're just fueling that fire again. So basically, if she rules in favor of this lawsuit and they implement different systems, it's still gonna, it sounds like here, cybersecurity measures, we know that those seem to fail, and that's why we're here in the first place. But the paper ballots seem like the simplest thing, but nobody seems to be able to get them in and do what they need to do. The positive things about this that she said was, she said the evidence in this Georgia case does not suggest that the plaintiffs are conspiracy theorists of any variety. She said some of the nation's leading cybersecurity experts and computer scientists have provided testimony and affidavits on behalf of the plaintiff's case and the long course of this litigation. So we know 2000 Mules came up. We know Police State from came out, Police State by Dinesh D'Souza. And I remember people were so happy about that coming out, the 2000 Mules. I mean, we couldn't even say that on YouTube for a while, but then nothing came of it. So people got upset about it. Well, now here it is. Now this is coming to court January 9th. So of course they've reached out to Rassenberger for a response. And so far he hasn't responded to anything. Basically, both the Cross and Coalition for Good Governance people and leaders have stated that Rassenberger has continually failed to address the escalating risks of state voting system. So they've been trying to deal with this guy, talk to this guy, and apparently he isn't willing to do that. So with the judge saying that she hopes everybody works it out, you know, and comes to an agreement, I don't see that happening anytime soon. So I don't know if it's a start that we need. We have to start somewhere. Is it going to lead to the change that's needed? I don't see cooperation on both sides happening. And don't forget this, to add to this, that's why I say we always got to stay on top of it, yet we go back into our memories or the different videos, because remember when Tucker Carlson was still on Fox and he put this out about the duplicated ballots, the falsified tally sheets, and the mail-in ballot fraud that happened in Fulton County. And so verbatim, it comes out as what Tucker Carlson had said back in 2020. He said, it now appears there actually was meaningful voter fraud in Fulton County. That is not a conspiracy theory. It is true. Surveillance footage obtained by Voter GA shows large numbers of ballots being scanned multiple times. Pay attention to the woman wearing yellow at the desk. According to Voter Georgia GA, she slides the ballots into the scanning machine, removes them, and then reinserts the same ballots. We've heard these stories over and over. They're burned into our brains. But the good news is that this is coming out now, and at least January 9th, there's something going on. Tucker Carlson said that happened multiple times. And when he put it out there on top of 2000 Mules, it seems like nothing was happening. And here we are, a little something is happening. So I'm staying hopeful. And basically, Tucker goes on to supply more information. The details include, as a reminder to you guys, Fulton County failed to provide more than 100,000 of those tally sheets, including 50,000 of them from mail-in ballots. When Voter Georgia finally forced Fulton County to turn over the tally sheets, the conclusion was stunning. Here is what the audit found. 7 falsified audit tally sheets containing fabricated vote totals. For example, a batch containing 59 actual ballot images for Joe Biden and 42 for Donald Trump was reported as 100 for Biden and 0 for Trump. So the 7 ballot images with 550 voters or votes for Joe Biden, 140 were for Trump, and 11 votes for Joe Jorgensen had tally sheets in the audit that were falsified. They were falsified to show 850 votes for Biden, 0 for Trump, 0 for Jorgensen. And then Tucker ended that little segment which you can still find on the internet. He said, "Did you just follow that?" He said, "How is that not flat out criminal fraud?" And it's true. I've said all along, and you guys know, we've had the numbers, we have the details. And the whole thing is, we thought the ball was dropped and nothing's going to be done with it. But like I said, this just came out today. So January 9th, we'll see what happens. And like I said, hopefully we can just hope that it's a forward motion that we need as 2024 is nearing. Yeah, it's not going to solve everything, but it is a start. And like, I don't know, I don't understand if it isn't for the corruption and people that just want to stay in power and do things illegally, why we can't just go to paper ballots, pen and pencil. When I just went to vote recently in my area for city council, they already had a jam in the machine. So I had to take my ballot and just stick it in an opening behind the machine. So what's going to happen with that ballot? They're supposedly just going to take it out and run it through the machines, right? So, I mean, yeah, the whole thing of them jamming happens. It's electronics, right? So it's going to happen. But the thing is, I just found that weird because it's not like it was a huge amount of a turnout of people, and it wasn't like a ton of ballots were being rushed through like it was a presidential election. It was a city council election. So I found that it just put a pause in my mind, because when I did the when I was watching and doing the when we were voting for the presidential election and I was a poll watcher, there was just different things that happened with the machines as well. And that's just a small little community I'm in, you guys. I'm not even in one of these bigger communities like Fulton County and all that, where all the issues did take place, or like a big area like in Detroit where all that went down that we saw. This is just a little area. But the thing is, every little count for somebody that they want to be in matters all across. And if they did all in one area at one time, it would be totally obvious. Look what we've gone through for the last 3 years. Look what Mike Lindell's put out there, and people laugh it off, or people say nothing's going to happen, even though we have all this evidence. And I just say we have to stay strong, because what is the alternative? There is no alternative. We have to stay strong in this to the end. It's not pretty, but there is a process to go through. You also have to eliminate some of these people, expose them, vote them out, et cetera, et cetera. It's a chain reaction. It's not like everybody who is involved in this is going to say, yep, guess what? I did something wrong. And, I'm going to admit to that. No big deal. They're not going to see through it. They're going to want to hang on to what they can hang on, their whole plan, their whole system, because it's been going on for a long time. And it's not just one side, it's both sides. And we all are well aware of that. The other thing I wanted to cover was, this was really disturbing to me, that if you guys saw in New York Times Square yesterday, there was a Muslim demonstration, and there was a man on a bullhorn that said, "We will not stop until Islam enters every home." And the man on the bullhorn said, "We are done hiding. We are done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be part of, Islam. And we will not stop until Islam enters every home." So I want you to repeat after me. I want you to hear it in every single district. They should tremble in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Queens. And he finished his little bullhorn speech by saying, "There is no God worthy of worship except Allah." Now, that was just, it made my stomach turn, because this is happening in our own streets. We've seen all the different protests, all the things, and yet it's happening in our own country, in our own land, in our own streets. Now, the guy says, "I'm tired of being judged. We're done being judged." Yet he wants to force judgment on all of us, or anybody that doesn't believe in his religion and his beliefs, saying it's the correct religion. So that right there is an oxymoron. I can't believe, like I said, that this is happening in our own country, that, out of his very mouth, don't be judged, but he's judging everybody else, because he believes that Islam is the correct religion here on our own lands. You look at all the different things and challenges that go on with these Middle Eastern people and all the different little sects of these people. It's hard to keep up. It's hard for us to understand. And I believe so many of our leaders do not understand what is going on over there. And that's why we always end up in war. Sometimes we stick our nose in, I believe, where it doesn't belong, and it's not settled. And you're not going to get some of these people to see it your way. They're not going to negotiate, because this man was bold enough, and these protesters were bold enough to be in New York Times Square saying that every single home, this is the religion, and we won't stop. We're done. We will not stop. That is, to me, pretty terrifying. Then in Delaware, the pro-Palestinian protesters were hanging out along front of Biden's home, and they're not happy with his decisions in the Middle East. So here we are involved in all this kind of stuff going on inside our country, outside in the country. And it's like you have to pause and say, what the heck is going on? It's absolutely disturbing. And Jesse Waters had a good point, and he said, remember when Kamala Harris said that all the immigrants are coming here because of climate change? And she said now they want to go back. And Jesse Waters had to make a joke out of it because he stated maybe they were just summering in Chicago and some of our cities, and then they want to winter in Venezuela. So, it gets to the point that it's absolutely obnoxious and ridiculous. Some of these comments that our so-called leaders, the VP, puts out there about what is going on in our country. Benny Johnson also posted from his X account another account that is called End Wokeness, and it says, this count stated, Pakistan is expelling 1.7 million Afghan refugees and bulldozing their shelters. Egypt said they're not afraid to use the military to keep the Palestinian migrants out. Jordan says he will not take in any new refugees. In total, there are over 50 plus Muslim countries. Yet somehow the Western world will be the one obligated to take in all of them from the Middle East. So they have over 50 plus Muslim countries that none of them want to shelter and take these people in, that they all fight amongst each other. They all want the power, the control, that their belief is the ultimate belief. Now it's here on our own lands and our own soils. And we've went over this about our different representatives, Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, wanting us to house these people. They could care less that our own people are on the streets. They could care less how we feel about it. They could care less that our borders wide open with people just pouring through like a sieve. They don't care. They just think we should take it in, take it in, take it in. So that was disturbing for me to see over the weekend was that happening, those two major things. And if you notice, you guys, these protests are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They're well organized. There's thousands upon thousands of people. It's to the point you can't even see any space in the street. They're lined up shoulder to shoulder, and it's so long. And it's not like it's a few staggering or a few hundred. I mean, it's thousands of people, and it seems to be growing. And that puts me in pause as well. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Kash Patel posted regarding Mike Johnson, because some discrepancies have been going on with him. I know he hasn't been House Speaker, but for a few weeks, a lot of pressure is on him. A lot of eyes are on him, of course, but we said we don't want another McCarthy. What's the point of knocking a McCarthy out if we get another McCarthy in there? But everybody was happy and hopeful with Johnson. He seems like an up and up guy. He has his background with being on the defense team for Trump and a constitutional expert is a very positive thing. And I'm just saying, we're not going to win all the battles, of course, but we also have to take pause to the actions being taken over the words that are being said. And sometimes the past is the past, and maybe people's minds change. But Kash Patel was posting on his social media. He said there are 12 subpoenas for documents the Republican House majority issued to the three-letter agencies, all of them. Okay. They said they have all been violated by the heads of those agencies. He said, Mike Johnson, when are you going to begin contempt proceedings for individuals like Ray, Garland, Mayorkas, and Austin, who have continuously broken the law with reckless abandon and destroyed congressional oversight? We want the docs now. McCarthy failed us. It's now up to you to make up for it. So he's calling out Mike Johnson to task too, because there is no time to waste. We've wasted so much time. And I'm glad that Kash Patel is calling to it. Kash Patel is inside. Kash Patel knows about this. He's on the inside of this stuff. So when he comes out and he's calling out Mike Johnson, sometimes you have to be forward and strong. We can't just blow in the wind anymore. We have to draw that line in the sand, get stuff done for the American people, And thank goodness Kash Patel is calling it out. That's the difference now. I think that we saw it, all these different things that were going on, and then people called us conspiracy theorists or didn't believe it or said, oh, we're just, following a certain cult-like belief. And that's not true. We've seen how this country is following the different things going on. The disrespect that happened on Veterans Day, that really sent me for another thing as well. Seeing these different protests and these destruction of the U.S. flags being pulled down and these different flags from their countries being put up there on Veterans Day. That was horrifying to me. That was so disgusting, disturbing, and trashy. And I didn't hear, our mighty leader Biden coming out saying anything against that. I didn't hear word one about that from him. No leadership and no direction for pro-America. These people, if anybody else was in office, they wouldn't be doing it, especially with Trump. You know dang well that this would not be going on if there was Trump. So even if you don't like Trump as a person, you cannot admit anymore that this country was in way better shape when he was in office versus what's going on now. So the other thing that came out about Mike Johnson was Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz started, it was just over an hour ago. He said he was, the Speaker Johnson is proposing a laddered CR. It's to keep funding in the government past the November 17th deadline, which is only a few days away. He said that he's asking for support of a continuing resolution. And we all are well aware that a lot of them are against the CRs because he said that we oppose the CRs because each agency of government should get itemized review. But a laddered CR without spending cuts, without border security, and defanging weaponization is not sufficient. So a lot of what's in this ladder CR that Johnson is trying to get support for, it doesn't have this stuff in it. So he said also this ladder CR does not set the Republican-controlled House up for a win or even to engage into a single policy fight. So that's kind of disturbing too. He said it's more basically this ladder CR is more of Pelosi's policies and Biden's spending. He said it also has a farm builder extender through September in there. But Gaetz was saying that if there's dollars spent on this, that's fine because they support the farmers, right? But its reductions need to be made elsewhere. That it's not right to slap this farm builder extender into the CR. That's bad. They're not looking at cutting spending or anything. And we know that we're bloated beyond what we should be as it is. So he said that he talked to the speaker today to break through the theory that we have to do that ladder approach. He said all at once, what this ladder approach is all at once we have one vote for all of government to extend every agency for the same amount of time. And he said it's bad. He said that he is not even going to vote for a clean CR. He said we want single subject bills. He said McCarthy only did one, and I don't know what length of time, but he said that Speaker Johnson has already put one through, and there's a bunch more coming through. But my thing is, why would Johnson want to put a CR ladder that is similar for Gaetz to call it in comparison to Pelosi policies and Biden spending? That is like one extreme to the other. So I don't know why Johnson would do that. I mean, maybe he's come out and said it and I haven't seen it, but like I said, I'm going to believe what Matt Gaetz has to say. And with it's a bulk thing in there. And that is true. If we're trying to, where's there room for budget cuts? If we're doing these ladder CRs and it is every extension of government in the same amount of time, that doesn't leave room for anything. That is just, we're blowing all this money for every section of government in every area. And for 7 years, 5 years, 3 years, whatever it may be, why can't we just go ahead and do these single appropriation bills and these single subject bills? That's another thing that seems like it should be so simple. If they're on the up and up, there's no reason they can't work hard and do these single bills and just keep them moving, keep them moving, keep them moving. And I agree with Kash Patel that the subpoenas for the documents out there that we've been waiting for, along with the J6 tapes, there's a lot of different things that people are waiting for with bated breath with Johnson. And like I said, he's only been in there a few weeks, but it's time to move on all this this stuff, and it looks like at least a few people are trying to keep him held to task. Like I said, he has a calm demeanor. He speaks well, but I'm not so sure that I'm thrilled with this latter CR bill here. In the approach to it, I don't believe just to keep it open. Like I said, there's got to be a different way to do it. But when people aren't involved and don't understand what's going on, it's easy to say, see, this person over here is keeping this from happening. That they could look at like Johnson and say, look at, he speaks well, he's a good man, he wants the best for us, and these people over here are blocking him. It's no different than McCarthy, and that's not true. We have to it's our diligent duty to pay attention to what is actually going on in these bills, what is being said, and what is being done. We have that job to do, because then we can spread that information to people and have educated information that is traveling around. It's not about personality, liking somebody or not liking somebody. And I've always said that if you want the pretty package and somebody just to speak everything that's going to make you feel better so you can just bury your head back in the sand, this is not the time for that. I'm all about people being upfront, stirring the pot a little bit, because what, we've had that pot nice and calm in our government on both sides, and look where that's gotten us. So we want people obviously fighting for us, we the American people and this country, because there's a lot of information out there that's going on, and the information that is going on, if you look out at the broader scale of all the different people that are in this country and all the things that are happening against us and not for us, it can get pretty upsetting and can get terrifying. But we can't curl up in a ball, turn our heads away. We need to stay educated, and we need to fight the fight. And I don't care what side you're on, as long as it's the side of America. Like I said, there's bad people on both sides. We all know that. We've seen that exposure of that. But we also have to support the people and get over ourselves that are fighting for this country and us, fighting for the next generations to come. The people that are putting their heads out, their necks on the line, their reputations on the line, they risk threats to their families, threats to themselves, and that shouldn't be in America. Our representatives that are sticking their necks out shouldn't be threatened in any way, shape, or form, and that is a sick and twisted society, and we are better than that. This nation is better than that. So we are the majority, so we just have to keep staying strong, and we have to pay attention to what's going on, and we have to keep our head out of the sand, you guys, because what we may have believed a year or two ago or even 3 years ago doesn't seem to maybe be true at this point. And what do we know is true? We only can see what's going on. Like I said, everybody thought the voting stuff was dead and buried for the most part. We have no hope. People are saying, I'm not going to vote anymore. But like I said, this is happening here in Georgia. There are other states that I had said before that are trying to take Trump off the ballot. They have all failed thus far. So we are winning. So we have to keep making sure that we are winning the small little battles to give us hope and inspiration and courage to keep going forward, and to save this country and to keep us all sane and to get us back to where we want to be, just living free and loving this great country that we know that it is. So with that, I'm going to end it. I want to say thank you to you guys for joining me this evening, this late one. I'm glad I got to get that in there. And I will see you guys on the next one. Have a wonderful, pleasant rest of your evening, everybody. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.